Hi and welcome to literally the biggest show on earth. The automotive industry is the biggest industry on the planet, and this, the Frankfurt Motor Show, has to be the hugest. In fact, the exhibition halls cover about 5 times the area of the NEC show, and there's even buses and cars to bring you to the different halls. But don't worry, on this Car File special, we'll tell you all you need to know about the latest models and concepts. About 900,000 visitors from Germany and abroad are expected to attend the show. To put that into perspective, that's nearly twice as many that attended the UK Motor Show last year. The Frankfurt Extravaganza is not only the largest trade fair for mobility anywhere in the world, at the same time it's the showcase for the German Association of the Automotive Industry. The Germans are really marking their territory this year. They're bringing 73 new developments to the show, including premieres such as the Mark V VW Golf, the new Astra, and of course, the new BMW 5 Series, with a controversial new active steering system. BMW also have the all-new X3 and revised X5. There's the astonishing Mercedes SLR, plus there's some special surprises from the likes of VW and Mercedes. But the Germans haven't completely stolen the show. Could this be the new Ford Capri? You've seen the spy shots, now see the incredible new concept later in the show. Plus, it may not be as exciting, but many more of us will be driving it. This is the new Fiat Gingo, recently renamed as our old friend, the cuddly Fiat Panda. The slogan for this year's show is "The Fascination with the Car." Over 1,000 exhibitors from 40 different countries will be showing us the latest trends and highlights in the automotive industry. And I can tell you, there's a lot to see here. Let's start off at the BMW stand with this very important model, the all-new X3, which will be on sale in the UK next year. Now, BMW have worked out that the X5 can be created as a luxury off-roader for the 5 Series, and the X3, well, that can be created as a luxury off-roader for the 3 Series. Well, BMW aren't actually calling this an off-roader. No, that's far too common. It's a luxury SUV or sports utility vehicle. In fact, BMW tell us that this X3 is the very first premium sports activity vehicle in its class. With words like that, it probably is. I'm here with Chris Bangle, Chief BMW Group Design, and we're here with the X3. Can you tell us a bit about this car, Chris?
Well, this is a great new product for us to expand the X family, so to speak, which the X5 was for us the first foray into the sport activity vehicles, 4-wheel drive, any road, any time type of products. And to get a little bit smaller but still have a lot of space inside, that was a challenge here. And it's a great driving car.
It's not a scaled down version of the X5, or is it?
No, you can't really do that scaling up and down in BMW because they put a lot of energy into each car's personality and driving characteristics. So in fact, it shares a lot of components out of our other cars, but it is its own product.
How do you get the muscular and dynamic looks when designing a car?
Well, particularly in the X family, we want to make sure that you see the movement in the sheet metal because it's that movement that shows those muscles, shows strength in the steel. You know, we all know what a corrugated piece of steel looks like, how strong that is, and we have to put some of those shapes in it to really resonate that strength. But at the same time, we're doing it in ways different than the X5, and it picks up some cues maybe from the 5 Series if you're observant.
This is my first time inside the all-new BMW X3. And straight away I can tell you this is obviously aimed at those with a very active lifestyle. The cockpit, well, it feels really nice. Straight in front of me are 2 very clear dials. It's typical BMW inside here. And in the middle you have this, which is your navigation system monitor, which will pop up whenever you need to know where you're going. I have to say, it actually feels really nice. There's an awful lot of the X5 here. With the tailgate open, the X3 reveals a capacious storage space, enabling the driver to carry all kinds of sports gear. A number of handy storage compartments are also included. This is the X3's bigger brother, the revised X5. After 3 years of success and with sales up 32% alone last year, BMW have announced a huge amount of enhancements, both on-road and off-road. Unfortunately, well, people in the UK won't be able to get their hands on this till January of next year.
Well, we made the car a bit more muscular looking, a bit more sporty in the areas of the bumpers, the headlights. This brings it up into line with the whole new BMW look. And of course, this product now, the X5 has got new engines, new X-Drive, and so it's a car that's got more driving dynamic.
The front end is changed quite a bit from the old one. It's much more robust looking. Was that a deliberate thing?
Well, not only from the look we wanted to communicate, but in fact these new engines needed more space underneath there, so it's all a little bit taller. And when you revise all those proportions, you suddenly get a little bit more masculine look to the car.
The X5 gets 3 new engines. 8-cylinder power comes from a 4.4i V8 with a new high-performance X5 4.8 IS arriving in spring 2004. BMW's latest 6-cylinder 3-litre diesel engine is added to the lineup and is complemented by the 3-litre I petrol engine carried over from the existing car. A number of BMW safety options are available on the X5, but for the first time it has adaptive headlamps, which basically illuminates the road in the direction the car is going rather than the car is pointing. Yes, I know, I can hear you Citroën fans going, yeah, we had that back in the 70s with the DS, the classic DS. Yes, I know, but BMW say this is for the 21st century. Und jetzt, Damen und Herren, hier ist der BMW 5-Serie und es ist fantastisch. My bit of German for you. Not too bad, school German, but I can still sprechen ein bisschen Deutsch. Yes, all the hassle of Frankfurt have been worth it to see this, the all-new BMW 5 Series. In its previous incarnation, this won shed loads of awards all around the world, and BMW have filled this with a barrel load of enhancements. It is, I have to say, quite incredible, and it also comes with a very controversial active steering system. But with the Mercedes E-Class hot on its heels, how have they improved this 5 Series to beat the competition from Stuttgart? Well, let's join motoring journalist Ivor Carroll, who's in Baden-Baden just down the road at the international launch.
Now, you may recall a couple of years ago when BMW introduced its new 7 Series, there was something of a public outcry about its styling. Now, this 5 Series looks a little bit like the 7 Series, but thankfully isn't quite as extreme. The real area of controversy with the 7 Series styling was its back end, which many would call ugly. Fortunately, the 5 Series has a much softer back end, and I think it's quite attractive. Now, there's a school of thought that says you've got to keep doing radical things with car styling in order to keep the audience interested, keep the punters coming. Similarly, a lot of people say, well, if the styling ain't broke, why would you want to try and fix it? We're just wondering whether Chris Bangle, chief stylist on this project, has pushed the envelope too far and is doing to car styling what Malcolm McLaren did to pop music in the late 70s. There are some amazing styling details on the new 5. Big wrap-round light clusters, shark's fin antenna on the back here. Come along the side, you see a strange blend of hard straights and soft curves. Come to the front, you see a nose that's very evocative of Chris Bangle's Z4 sports car. And look at the amazing styling of this wrap-round headlamp. It's really quite wacky. It comes all the way around the corner of the car and even incorporates up here a row of amber LED lamps that act as a side marker lamp at night. It's important to spend some time looking at this new 5 Series because the 5 has always been considered a benchmark executive car, and it's gained many awards over the years, including our very own Menon Motors Top 10 award. Now, no one aspect of the old 5 Series styling really stood out, and the whole package was right in all respects, and it was a true driver's car, there's no doubt about that, but there was never anything striking about its appearance. Could it be that with the spectre of the very pretty Mercedes E-Class taking sales away from the 5, BMW felt they had to make a really bold decision about its new executive's looks? And if so, did the company get it right?
First of all, it's a good looking car, and that will grab people's attention and make people want to take a closer look at it. There's a lot of technology in the car, but not so much it'll put people off. And on paper, I think the diesel looks very strong on performance and fuel economy. So it's threatening to be an all-round class leader.
I think it's got big shoes to fill replacing the E39. I think it'll take a while to replace that car in people's affections. But if BMW hadn't been as brave as they have been, they'd have been criticised for moving backwards and not keeping pace with the competition. So I think all in all, it's a great car.
I think it's quite dynamically styled. I think it'll be a good seller. I think it's a vast improvement in looks on the last model, and it performs very well.
I think it's a quandary car. In so many respects, it's a car that I wanted to criticise when I came out to first drive it, and yet I find myself being in a situation where I can't criticise it too heavily. The chassis dynamics are fantastic. The finish of the car is actually very, very good. Sadly, when you get inside the motor car, it doesn't actually feel as high quality as the original 5 Series, which I think is a little bit sad. I think BMW may struggle to sell it.
Of course, it's easy enough to make a wacky looking car, and it's been done before. Witness Fiat's Multipla, the Audi A2, even the ill-fated Renault Avantime. But none of those have been volume sellers, or were really intended to be large volume sellers, least of all in the UK. This, however, is going to be a major mainstream car, and we're wondering whether it was safe of BMW to make it look quite so radical. So that's enough about the BMW 5 Series for now. We'll come back to it later. Meanwhile, let's go back to the Frankfurt show.
And thanks very much indeed, Ivor. We'll be back with him later on the show, driving the new 5 Series. I'm still joined by Chris, who is the chief designer here of BMW. The 5 Series, what were you trying to achieve with it?
To make a great 5 Series. The 5 Series is important to BMW, and well, we wanted to make sure that we took that whole genre of what is a 5 into the future with BMW, and we've done it with this car. It's great.
And yet there's something else new from BMW. What the heck is this? It looks like the size of a 5 Series, but it's a coupe. And in fact, BMW are calling this the new 6 Series. Yes, you heard me right, the new 6 Series. This, in fact, will be the BMW 645ci Coupe. And this is the first BMW coupe to wear the legendary 6 Series badge since 1989. And though it carries the heritage of its predecessor, this new model brings the BMW 6 Series on a generation with a mouth-watering 4.4-litre V8 engine and a choice of 3 different 6-speed transmissions. The new 6 Series is big, but it's not overweight thanks to modern, lightweight yet strong materials, including aluminium. Like the Excellent 600 series from the 80s, we hope this car will have the same wow factor as the cars that came before. It is stuffed with a whole host of complex specifications, all designed for the ultimate driving machine. 0 to 60, by the way, comes in 5.6 seconds.
Well, I think coupes have always been important to BMW, and they've always had a real added a sporting image to BMW, you know, 3 Series coupe, quite famous. But it was getting more and more difficult to figure out how to do a coupe that wasn't a limousine overly cut up, you know, and that's basically what coupe means, to cut up. And that's why it took a while until we understood that we could make a 6 Series coupe based on the Z9 GT, which you may recall was a concept car here 4 years ago. And wow, that had the sophistication and the panache of the 7 Series, but it had all that, well, what it has, all this great coupe proportions and sexiness that a sporting car needs. So that was the moment when I think the company really got behind the idea and said, now we know what a coupe can be. And of course, also a cabriole, which will come later.
Dynamic drive and active steering can be specified as 6 Series options, virtually eliminating body roll and bends. Dynamic drive features step motors which build up counter forces on the car's anti-roll bars, improving ride comfort while cornering. Meanwhile, our friend Active Steering, that Ivor Carroll is going to be trying out on the German streets later, uses a step motor to vary steering ratio according to speed. In a nutshell, you have only 4 or so turns lock to lock when parking, which increases as you go faster. This is so any sudden movements on the Autobahn won't send you into the centre reservation. But does it work in reality? Well, we'll find out later. So there you have it from BMW. They have managed to create a whole host of models that have caused attention, controversy and emotion. But that's not all that's here at the Frankfurt Motor Show. Oh no, there's plenty more to see. That's it for part 1, but make sure you join me after the break because we have loads more here from the Frankfurt Motor Show. See you in a bit. If you want power, luxury and one of the best performance cars in the world, you'll want this, the Mercedes-McLaren SLR. Mercedes claim that this car is a vehicle blessed with unbeatable charisma, where legend and sophistication melt together in a thoroughly masterful Mercedes synthesis. But seriously though, it's a very interesting car. It's probably the most advanced technically and the most exotic looking car that Mercedes have made in a very long time. But I think the real test is to get in. And boy, do I feel at home in here. Oh, it is a seriously nice machine. Outside and in. There's a taste of the DeLorean with the doors. You pull them down. Like so. Oh, the lights come on. The lights come on when you pull the door down. On the dash. And open the door. How do you open the door? Oh, here we go. All right, let's try this one. Those enormous wheels give a hint of the performance in store, but it looks more aggressive than elegant. This front is very nicely sculptured with the headlamps melting away into the waistline, which continue to muscular haunches at the back. This car will be competing with exotics like Ferrari, and prices are unconfirmed, but at estimations resting on £250,000, it is unlikely most mortals will be able to afford it. This is a millionaire's toy. Even though the good news is that they will be built in Woking, they're not going to make a right-hand drive version. But if you don't have £250,000 sloshing around in your back pocket, well, you could go for a slightly earlier model. One of these. We have come a long way when you look at this compared to the SLR. No, what I mean is one of these, the Mitsubishi Evo 8, which I drove quite recently. You wonder why I have a smile on my face? Well, if you were sitting where I'm sitting, you'd have a smile on your face. The Evolution 8. What a machine. It is unbelievable. This, without doubt, is a supercar. It'll get you to 60 in just under 5 seconds. Not bad. On the clock, it's 180 miles per hour, but it'll get you to a top speed of 155 miles per hour. Now, one important thing when you're driving a car like this is you need to know what's going on underneath. In other words, at each wheel. And the steering is really positive and lets you know exactly what's happening when you need to know, which is very important. The gearbox, 6-speed gearbox, is really close together, so it really feels like a rally car. And you just have to knock it into gear every so often when you want to change down or up. It's fantastic. Jumping into the more welcoming interior of the Subaru and turning the key produces a very welcoming sound. The starter note could be more at home on a Massey Ferguson tractor than on a 265 brake horsepower turbocharged supercar. The engine gives a unique throbbing at tickover, which reminds you of Subaru's expertise and experience with flat 4 engines. On the move, the STI is very rapid indeed. It's a lot of fun. Its suspension is stiffer than the Mitsubishi, which does get tiring after half an hour, maybe 8 hours, depending on how much you like it. Strangely, it doesn't feel as quick though around the bends. The STI does have a tendency to understeer, more so than the Evo 8. The grip is still excellent, even though the firm ride makes your teeth rattle at times. The throttle response is better than the Mitsubishi, but a run into town may prove to be its undoing. Alright, so it is a BMW, either love them or you like them or hate them, whichever you prefer. I actually really like this car. The question is it really worth the money, around £40,000? That's something you're going to have to decide, because it's not me that's going to be parting with that amount of money. In or around town, it is exactly the same. It is just really nice to drive. There are no problems. You'll enjoy driving it in slow traffic just as much as you'll enjoy throwing it around the place, which is very important in a car. And underneath the bonnet, well, this is where it gets very exciting. Absolutely marvelously exciting, because it's got a 3.26 cylinder engine. And when you start driving it and start putting your foot down on the throttle, you can feel every bit of that. Now, that was nothing compared to if you really set it up and get the revs up and take off. It is sensational. What it does is it sends 343 brake horsepower to the rear wheels at 8,000 revs. Oh, that's an awful lot of power. So there you go, a lot of fun in 3 cars that are a lot less expensive than the Mercedes-Benz SLR, which is down there that I was just in somewhere down, oh there, just there, down there. But this place is just Mercedes stand here at the Frankfurt Motor Show. And as you can see, it is unbelievably massive. There's like 4 or 5 different floors with all sorts of makes and models of Mercedes. Stunning, absolutely stunning. This is the concept car that is causing a commotion at the Ford stand. The spy shots in the story made it into the tabloids a couple of weeks ago. Why is it making such a commotion? Well, this could eventually become the next Ford Capri. The Capri was an automotive legend, particularly in the UK and here in Germany, so it's appropriate that this baby gets its first outing at the Frankfurt Motor Show. Designed in Dunton, Essex and Cologne, the Visos concept takes many styling cues from the classic Capri without being overtly retro. Our take on it from talking to Ford execs is not only will this have the fastback cab backward design feel of the original Capri, but also the affordable power as well. We've heard prices of around 16 grand being bandied about, which if it delivers a great driving experience, could be very good value.
There's a lot of philosophy of the Capri in this car. You know, we thought about the Capri when it came out 30 years ago and the impact it made on the public. It was a full GT coupe at an affordable price. So yeah, really in a way, there's a bit of spirit of Capri in this car.
How did you create the cab backward look on it?
Yeah, with a lot of hard work and pushing the engineers to do what we want for once. I shouldn't say that. I mean, design, in my opinion, is so important at Ford that we got the whole sort of platform of the car rethought. We got the A-post back, we got the cab back, and that gives the car a really strong traditional GT proportion. I want this car to go into production, but there are people above me who have to make that decision. If the decision is to go ahead, this car is feasible and it could be in production in 2 years' time.
You heard what the man said. This car could be in your local dealership within 2 years. This car won't be built on a whim. With Ford of Europe losing a shed load of cash every day, there needs to be an enormous amount of enthusiasm for this new concept before Ford will push the production button. Like what you see? Well then, right to Ford. This is beautiful. It's from the Bertoni Styling House, a concept car. Doors are stunning and the machine itself is just quite incredible to look at. It's not the only thing in the stand that's quite incredible to look at. This is the all-new Aston Martin DB9, proving to be very popular here. This is the first Aston Martin that has been built at the company's new Warwickshire facility. And I have to say, it is quite an incredible machine to be in. It's getting its world debut right here at the Frankfurt Motor Show. This is really the start of an exciting new era for Aston Martin, as it reflects the direction the company is now taking with all future models. When you think what a dodgy state the company was in about a decade ago, this really shows how bright the future is going to be. It uses a radical new aluminium bonded frame, making a 2+2 DB9 one of the most sophisticated and technically advanced sports cars in the world. Dr. Ulrich Bez, the boss of Aston Martin, told me earlier that the DB9 will be without doubt the most important Aston Martin model ever. He also said, not only is it the first time in our history that we have a purpose-built facility, but we now also have a dedicated platform. He is a happy bunny. And looking at this, I can see why. Aston Martin tell us that they will spend more than 200 hours hand-building each car. Power for the DB9 comes from a 450 brake horsepower V12 engine, which has been developed specifically for this model. The DB9 will replace the current DB7, which finishes production at the end of this year, and will be on sale in spring 2004. Final pricing and specifications will be announced soon. Well, a little down the price bracket we have the Fiat Panda. Now you may remember this from the Geneva show. It was actually a concept car and it was called the Gingo, but Renault kicked up a fuss and said, you can't have that. It's too close to our little runaround called the Twingo. So here at the Frankfurt Motor Show, it's been rebadged, and now we have the Fiat Panda. And not the Gingo, or the Twingo, or the Twango. Fiat Panda. The styling is certainly more interesting than the old bread box shape of the old Panda, where, as you'll probably remember, had every panel of glass completely flat to save cash. Fiat really do need this car to sell well because the company isn't in the best of shapes. But you know, I think they're onto a good thing here. It actually comes as standard with 6 airbags and ABS, which is quite impressive. You've also got this very trendy sequential gearbox, and the overall feel of it is it's really spacious. From the outside it looks tiny, but when you get in it's really spacious. Don't forget, I am 6'2". You can look forward to this baby being released in the UK in January of next year. Here's something we didn't expect at the Frankfurt Motor Show. The new Fiat Panda SUV, sports utility vehicle. Yes, it looks funky and it looks fun and it's very colourful in red and yellow. Now, seeing as we're still here at the Fiat stand, We're gonna have a look at this. This is the Fiat Multipla. Now this car has won awards everywhere because it's an MPV and it's the most practical one around because it's got 3 seats in the front and 3 seats in the back. But the car doesn't seem to sell. Why? Simple. It's but ugly. So, all I will say is, come on Fiat, give us something that's sexier, rounder, and a lot better looking. Volkswagen have some very exciting news here at the Frankfurt Motor Show. The Golf, the best-selling car in the UK and the best German car ever, is being launched in its 5th edition. Yes, this is the all-new Golf Mark V. Since its introduction over 30 years ago, more than 22 million Golfs have been sold, with each generation taking the car a big step forward and establishing new benchmarks in the class. The Mark I was about the same size as today's Polo. Despite gaining weight and size over the years, every generation has remained true to the Golf's winning formula. Volkswagen say it's the biggest step forward in the evolution of the car, both visually and technically. I think not. I think you would be forgiven for thinking it was an interbreeding exercise between the old Mark V and the Skoda Fabia. The front end has been designed to reduce further aerodynamic drag, while these twin circular headlights, with the glass tapering toward the centre of the car, give a dynamic look. At the rear, the Golf Mark V has twin circular taillights, which have become a feature of current Volkswagen designs, such as, of course, the bigger Passat. If you've ever complained about being squeezed into the rear of a Golf, well, good news. The new Golf offers you more legroom than ever. The whole body is 57mm longer than the current model, 24mm wider and 39mm higher. Any presenter lying in the gutter will realise that the solid beam rear axle is gone and in is the multi-link rear suspension. There is a wide choice of engines featuring the latest FSI petrol and unit injector TDI diesel power plants, driving through a 6-speed gearbox with a direct shift following later, and all should and will comply with Euro 4 emission standards. Both 3- and 5-door hatchbacks will be available. Now when it comes to safety, as with all Golfs, there's no compromise. You get 6 airbags, active head restraints and 3-point seatbelts. The new Mark V Golf will be on sale early next year in the UK. And here's a tip. If you want to get your hands on an outgoing Mark IV Golf, well, now's the time to get down to your dealer, because I'm sure you will haggle a great deal. But look at this funky 2-seater VW concept, which is based on the Golf. It shares the Golf's nose, but it is a welcome addition to give the hatchback a more sexy image. Thanks to the new modular technology system, it's quite easy now for VW to create this spider with the Golf engine behind the seats, driving the rear wheels. This would have been impossible with the old platform share system. I'm told this is a new idea for a sports car. It's called leather-covered active foam. Basically what it does is it molds the seats into the shape of the driver or the passenger. Very clever idea, but a cracking looking car. This concept door, which makes its debut here at Frankfurt, is expected to deliver 0 to 60 in 6 seconds and still be able to get 50 to the gallon. Renault Design have unveiled 2 very futuristic concepts, the B-Bop and the B-Bop. Yes, the B-Bop and the B-Bop. 2 interpretations of the MPV theme. One is an all-terrain, while the other one is a bit more sporty, but both coming under the Renault Sport brand. From the side, these 4-metre-long cars stand out for their vast glazed surface, reminiscent of a water droplet. Renault tell us that the theme suggests movement and aerodynamic sleekness. The water droplet is a superb symbol of aerodynamic purity, Michael Jarden, director of concept car design, told me earlier. Yeah, right, Blanco. Bebop and Bebop have been created to provide a solution to the problem of MPVs, whose lack of aerodynamics has a bad impact on fuel consumption. One of Bebop's original features is the tailgate's functional and aesthetic opening system. First, an electric motor lifts the rear window above the roof. The lower part opens downwards while a shelf automatically slides forward to house luggage and parcels. But I love these seats. Never mind the Zafira's back seats going down into the floor. Have a look at what these seats do, curving their way majestically underneath the front ones. A great idea, unless you happen to stuff your packed lunch under the front seat and forgot about it. I must say that the interior looks fab. The seats are anchored to a central arch which frees up floor space to create a sensation of spaciousness. The polished aluminium gear lever rises over the central arch, which houses all the other main controls, such as heating, air conditioning, navigation and music. But will they ever make the Bebop or the Bebop? Well, after getting their fingers really badly burned with the Aventine project, I think Renault bosses will have to be pretty sure of its success before they commit to production. Well, that's it for part 2, but there's still plenty more to see. We've plenty of models and concepts here at the Frankfurt Motor Show to show you, so make sure you join me right after the break. Like Volkswagen, who have their new Golf, General Motors don't like changing their name. So this is the all-new Astra on the Opel stand. The outgoing generations of the Astra were good at being, well, average. It was cheap to make, everything worked. It had, well, average performance, average handling and looks. General Motors have had their work cut out. I think the new Astra is a big improvement from the last car. This arched roofline and short overhangs give the car a very sporty appearance. The huge grille at the front and these 3D transparent glass headlights are in the current fashion vogue of many manufacturers. At the back, this horizontal chrome line reminds us of the Astra's bigger brother, the Vectra, and these teardrop lights, although Peugeot-like, they do make the car look quite futuristic. And what's this? 18-inch alloys. And why not?
We're trying to push the form language always forward to get it more dynamic and more expressive. So I think what you'll see with the Astra, it has a more dynamic, more sporty look than the Vectra. And this is good because the compact car, we feel, really needs this expressiveness.
On sale next spring, this new Astra is better equipped to live in the 21st century than its predecessor. But how will the driving experience compare with the main rivals, the new Golf and the new Focus? We'll have to wait until we actually get behind the wheel for our own impressions. But on paper, the Astra looks very much better. Both the Astra and the Golf have an awful lot of competition out there, and when the going gets hot, the cars get even hotter. Now, before I flew out here to Frankfurt, I actually checked out the rivals who are upping the stakes in the horsepower department. And the first car I got into was the super Renault Clio Coupe. This is so fast. And the fact it's small makes it seem even faster still. It's a superb drive. I've had so much fun driving it. It really does feel like I'm ripping the road up as I'm going along. It'll get you to 60 in 6.8 seconds, which is very impressive. And there's a lovely little feature on the dash. It's actually called a shift light, and it basically tells you the optimum time to change gear. You'll find it in all the rally cars. It's a lovely little sporty touch. Now this car has a high performance chassis. It's like driving a racing car. Next up then, we have the MG ZR 160. Although the MG is 14 horsepower less than the Renault, it still gets to 60 in 7.4 seconds, and it feels very quick out on the road, though it's nowhere near as urgent as the Renault. What it has got though is a great note from the VVC engine, and when you're revving it very hard, something that it's designed to do, it sounds great and really sporty. Although the MG is based on the Rover 25, the MG technicians have clearly done a fabulous job in transforming the ride of the car, as the little MG is genuinely exciting. Right from the off it feels firm and responsive, and though it's not the most refined drive, it is certainly entertaining. And so to the Mini Cooper S. Now whilst the car may look very different to the Minis of old, this is the closest car of our three that gives you that go-kart-like feeling when you drive it hard. The chassis is firm and solid without being harsh, and the fact that the four wheels are as far into the corners of the car as you can get them means there's hardly any body roll. For such a firm ride, and for the smallest car here, the level of comfort is very impressive behind the wheel. And BMW's engineers have clearly worked wonders to provide that compromise between comfort and sporting performance. Now, although all three of our cars have power steering, the Mini system actually changes the sensitivity of the wheel, so that at high speed the steering is more sensitive and you can really feel the difference when you are driving the car hard. However, the Mini setup is such that you don't have to drive it as hard as the other two cars to get the same level of excitement. You know, for some reason, Mac Power readers have actually voted the Citroën Saxo VTS as the most desirable car to be sporty in. We all know it's just a restyled version of the Citroën AX. Well, it's going to be pensioned off very soon and replaced by this, the new Citroën C2. And not a moment too soon. The C2 looks much more like a Citroën. It is individual and quirky, unlike the AX and the Saxo. And in this respect has more in common with the legendary 2CV. It is cute and perhaps bears a passing resemblance to the A-Class Merc. It looks great at a three-quarter view, nice and curvy, which strangely disappears into an exposed flat panel by the time it hits the rear quarter. The great news for potential buyers is that the price of the new C2 is lower than the old Saxo at its launch back in 1996, only £6,995, and it's in Insurance Group 1.
Because the platform being the same, tracks are the same, engines are the same, only the wheelbase change. Then all the content, the inside of the car is full of good mechanics, and you know, it's explained also, even if the car has been done very compact, explained that the car looks full and really powerful.
We can't leave the Citroën stand without having a look at this concept. It's called the Sea Air Lounge, and it looks unbelievably aerodynamic. But the real fun comes when you get inside, because it's got this modular seat system, which basically means you can put the seats virtually anywhere. You should keep a good eye on this Air Lounge because, well, I think it may be the next face of Citroën. The C4 is due out very shortly, which will replace the old Zara, which is aging pretty badly at this stage. But our spies have told us that these hockey stick headlights and this logo in the bonnet, which actually parts the Citroën sign, will be also characteristics on the new C5.
The overall shape of the car also meant that classical solutions, for example, spoilers, just weren't applicable. And so, for example, we have what we have up here are, they're called blade vortex generators.
Okay.
Normally, to control the flow around a rear end, which is quite round, you'd have to have a spoiler here. That doesn't work for us because we wanted the maximum visibility in the rear. So the only place where you could put something was up here.
The doors are fiber optics, while the backs of the seats.
That's video projection. The idea is to be able to create these changes of ambiance in the interior, so you can really choose. You can choose your ambiance. We're showing 5 ambiances in the car, okay? But the idea is, in fact, that you can choose and create your own ambiances, so that you start with a neutral surface, and then through light, through projection, you create your own environment according to your humor and according to how you're feeling, who you're with, where you're going.
And now we venture to Citroën's parent, Peugeot's stand, to look at the glorious facelifted 406 Coupe. The old car was indeed beautiful enough, but never to be left behind in the fashion stakes, the French have decided to improve it further. Yes, it has been rounded off. And for those of you who thought they killed off the 406 in the UK, well, don't despair, because it still pays homage to the original Pininfarina design. But unfortunately, you're going to have to wait till 2005 before you get a chance to see it. Peugeot's aging 406 is about to be replaced by this machine here behind me. This is the Elexir 407. And I'm told that there's going to be very few styling changes to this when it's released next summer. Peugeot say that they're not going to follow the safe German styling route. I want to give their customers something different, and they certainly will with this baby. Let's hope the driving experience will be a little more sportier than the rather lackluster performance of the 307. But if looks are anything to go by, I can tell you, Peugeot have a real winner here. You really have to see this. This would have done Batman proud if he was still around. This is a Peugeot. Believe it or believe it not, it is actually a Peugeot. It's all part of Peugeot's Design Your Own Car competition, which was launched in the 2002 Paris Motor Show. And this is what somebody came up with, a 32-year-old German who's a graphic artist. He won 5,000 euros for designing this, but not alone that, he gets his own car built for him, that he designed. How good is that? It's just incredible. It's called the Peugeot 4002, or 40002. And I have to say, I really like it. I could see myself in this. Wing mirrors up here, massive wheels. I don't even know what width they are. And just the whole line of the car is beautiful. How you see outside of it, I have no idea. But who cares? Who really cares? I can say it's nice to get out of the main motor show and have a look and see what else Frankfurt has to offer. I've been invited here to the Frankfurt Union Halle to have an exclusive look at the new Volvo S40. So I'm going to go in and have a quick look. So here it is, just unveiled, the new Volvo S40. And at first glance, well, it doesn't actually look that bad. It is aimed at the younger generation, that's what Volvo has been telling us. Funky? I don't know. Jury's still out. I think I'll have to get in to have a real look at it. Right, in we get. Everybody's trying to get into this car, and they're trying to get a look at this new floating console thingy in the middle that Volvo are talking up hugely. And I have to say, it's quite nice. I saw pictures of it earlier on in one of the other models, and it's silver, which looks a lot better. This is just black. But You got space here behind it to put your purses or whatever else you want, and yeah, it's not bad actually. There's a nice feel to it, and there's a nice airy overall feel to the car. So Peter Holbury, Chief Designer at Volvo, you've just seen the launch of the new S40. Who exactly is it aimed at?
Well, Volvo's been coming down in age over the last few years quite dramatically, and we're looking to get younger people in with this car. It's funky enough to attract the new customers. It's recognizable enough as a Volvo to keep the people that we've been selling to for some years now, and who we hope to continue selling to. We're not abandoning a market just to rush to catch a new market. We want to spread ourselves across quite a wider market.
Ever fancied a Mercedes SLK for half the price? Well, this is the new Hyundai concept. If this does anything like what they say it's going to do, it's going to be massive. Styled by Hyundai Studios in California, it's actually really aimed at the huge US convertible market. The roof on it, a metal folding roof, was designed by Carman, the same company that designed the metal folding roof on the Mercedes SLK. Now, it's supposed to be due out next year, and with a price tag of around £16,000 to £20,000, this is definitely one to watch. Back here at the BMW stand, it's time to find out how my colleague Ivor Carroll is getting on out in the German roads in the new BMW 5 Series with the controversial active steering system. So, why is it so controversial?
Okay, well, I've put active steering to the test and I can confirm that it works well. Around town it's fuss-free, light, sensitive, dead easy to use, but take the car out onto the autobahn at high speed, it becomes very, very direct and reassuringly meaty and weighty, which is exactly what you want. Now, there's another technology worthy of mention, and that's iDrive, which is a multi-function information system. The 7 Series has an iDrive system, which is not very popular because many people who've used it have found it complicated. This one is second generation, and it's simplified, and it's dead easy even for an idiot like me to use. But you've got to ask, if this is a purist driver's car, which it is, why do they feel a need to give us loads of technologies that take away the driving experience from the driver? I mean, you wouldn't, for instance, give David Bailey a camera that has a fully automatic program, would you? Odd, isn't it? So what's it like to sit in the car? Well, the seats are certainly big and supportive, and you can specify the active seat option that massages you, would you believe, to keep backache at bay, and also active seat ventilation, which keeps you from getting sweaty at the wheel. All quite wonderful, really. And in the rear, passengers get even more legroom and headroom than they had in the previous 5, which of course was hardly cramped anyway. So how does the new 5 drive? Well, surprisingly similar to the old 5, which of course is a very good thing, but there are differences. Most notable is the much sharper steering with far better communication than was ever the case with the predecessor. This of course is the active steering. The brakes are noticeably better than the predecessor because they are more progressive, more powerful, but easier to use, easier to feather in. The gear change is the same slightly gritty, long travel affair of the predecessor. And this 3-litre engine, while it's a fine engine, has a lot of power, it's very refined, it's got a nice healthy growl under acceleration, is a little bit lacking in torque and flexibility. But you needn't worry about that because there are larger petrol engine choices due, and also the 530D, which has a fair bit more torque than this engine, is available from launch as well. But all in all, my first impression is that BMW have done a terrific job. This is a really superb drive. As you can hear, this engine's a lot happier in its upper reaches. Around town it's a bit inflexible, but it's a real flyer on the motorway. When you can extend it up to 6,500 revs, and it's really keen to do that. Lovely chassis, very neat handling, and I'm really starting to enjoy myself. But all good things must come to an end. That's our report on the 5 Series done. Let's get back to the show.
Well, that's just about it from the Frankfurt Motor Show. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Had a fantastic time here. I'm sure you would have enjoyed it even more if you were here like I did. I'm here at the Toyota stand. This is the new concept car. It's quite a stunning machine and a beautiful lady as well. You can't beat it. Make sure you join me again when Carfile returns to Men and Motors. But until then, we'll see you soon from the Frankfurt Motor Show.